Welcome into this Monday morning edition. Blue Sky Live here with you today. A little earlier start time. It is inauguration day not really across the United States, just in the United States. So a little early going here, 7:40 or so, hitting the button. Simply like to tell you guys when we are doing that every day. We'll discuss a lot of basketball today. Ole Miss coming off their 84-81 overtime loss to Mississippi State on Saturday evening in Starkville. A game that went to OT and went almost 2 hours and 50 minutes, I think, if I have that right, from Saturday. 84-81 there again in overtime. Ole Miss trailing the vast majority of the basketball game. Gave a hell of an effort, but fell 84-81. The resume, though, looks pretty good afterwards. We get into some of those things and more here with you this morning. NFL playoffs, conference championship games are set after four of those divisional games over the weekend. So all that and more coming up on today's show. A show brought to you every day by Blue Sky locations throughout the state of Mississippi, up and down I-55, throughout North Mississippi as well. They've got the Superstore, the Epicenter down in Macomb, and everywhere there is a Blue Sky. You get lunch specials, $5.69, couple sides bread, any size fountain drinks. You got Sweet Daddy's locations in a lot of those areas as well. So a lot of stuff going on with Blue Sky here this week. And again, Neil is in the Clark Ford studio.
I am. Clark Ford is in Amory, Mississippi. 662-257-1900 is the number. Call it. Ask for Corey Clark. Tell Corey what Ford product you're looking for. He'll send you a quote within 15 minutes in business hours. Right to the bottom line. No hassle, no haggle. You get your quote, and the rest is up to you. You can shop that quote around. You can do what I've done, what I recommend that you do, and that's hop into a Clark Ford today. You'll love the product. You'll love the service. Corey and the people at Clark Ford, they want to be your car guy. They want to be your truck guy. They'll prove to you what that means when you make the call. 662-257-1900. Guests join on the Campbell Clinic hotline. From fractures and sports injuries to complex spine and limb conditions, the pediatric orthopedic physicians at Campbell Clinic in Oxford are the only specialized pediatric orthopedic team in North Mississippi providing expert care for growing bodies. Visit CampbellClinicOxford.com to schedule an appointment or call 901-759-3111.
Being asking in the stream about some baseball talk. Now, not on the show today. I did post a projected starting lineup on the board just to kind of kick off team practices, but it's not time yet. The schedule's always sort of been, back in the old days, it was as soon as signing day happens in the 1st of February, and we sort of turn the page a little bit there, a week and a half, 2 weeks before the season. Ole Miss opens up Valentine's weekend in Dallas against Arizona, Texas, and Clemson. But yeah, no, not show worthy yet, but we'll start trickling some stuff in on the website. And yes, Austin Hunter Elliott is going to pitch this year. I had him listed as the Saturday starter in that projected lineup this morning, so that is the answer there.
Yeah, just a reminder, it's rebelgrove.com. It's part of the Rivals network. It's not even going to make the joke here. It's less than $10 a month. It's less than $9 a month. If you sign up on an annual subscription, it's less than $9 a month. There's lots of baseball that will be there, the basketball as well. 10 Thoughts, mailbag, all of those things are behind the paywall these days. We're going to put more and more behind the paywall because that's just the smart thing to do. And if you want to subscribe, we'd love to have you.
Yes, Ole Miss did pick up a commitment out of the transfer portal yesterday. Trey Wallace, Harrison Wallace III, however you would like to phrase Mr. Wallace, the Penn State wide receiver. He had 740 yards, I believe, last year for the Nittany Lions, scored 4 touchdowns. His best game was a 119-yard effort against West Virginia in the season opener. He was Penn State's top statistical wide receiver. Now they have Tyler Warren, who plays tight end, that is an absolute beast of a tight end. He had, I think, 1,200 yards receiving, something like that, from the tight end position. But Wallace was Penn State's number one target from a wide receiver standpoint, and did well in the. If you want to look at it analytically, and this is up at rebelgrove.com, there's a story on Mr. Wallace from yesterday. Analytically, Ole Miss likes attacking the middle of the field, sort of in that intermediate yardage range, and Wallace was very good there with the Nittany Lions and Drew Aller last year. You could see that on Pro Football Focus, that he was very successful and very comfortable in sort of that 8 to 20 yard range and between the hash marks in the middle of the field. So that's probably where his skill set best operates for Ole Miss next season as well. Yes, no targets in their last game because they had 0 wide receiver targets as a team in their last game, which is an interesting stat. So there's that.
And Notre Dame took it away.
They did.
An elite defense, especially against the pass, took it away. I mean, I saw some people talking about how Penn State's offense was archaic and things of that nature. I kind of disagree. It's not worth fighting about, but there is NFL interest in Drew Aller and the offensive coordinator there. I thought did a pretty good job early in the season, throughout the season, of kind of opening up their offense. They made it to the national semifinals. I mean, it's hard to go. That was a terrible season for Penn State when they reached the Final Four.
Mm-hmm. Portal periods will start to slow. I mean, it has slowed down, but just from a clock standpoint, I guess it's worth reiterating while we're on the topic that Ole Miss does start classes tomorrow. So January 21st, first day of classes for Ole Miss. The final day for drop ad is sometime around February 1st. So technically, it will go to there as a possibility. But just keeping eyes on the calendar a little bit, January 21st is where Ole Miss does start. Ole Miss will be back. Students will be back for the Wednesday game against Texas A&M. So first student section game for Ole Miss in basketball for the spring semester. So that's kind of where that stands right now. But anyway, all right, that's up. Thaddeus Dixon did not commit to Ole Miss over the weekend. He made his decision on Saturday. So there is that as well.
God, it was phenomenal journalism. There went my Pulitzer. It was good.
I started to delete it this morning, and then I don't know why I didn't. I just went, you know what? In this era, I'm just going to leave it for a couple of days. It's fine. It won't stay there as long as the baseball hot board did that time, but it's cool. We'll get rid of it here shortly.
I was just going to leave it a couple of days, just a couple of days in case.
Just in case.
I mean, I don't know anything. I doubt. I've heard nothing to make me think that he's going to have a change of heart. Just in this era of what do they call them? They're getting guys to sign different papers and such. I sent you a Sportico article about it today. They're getting guys to sign all sorts of paperwork that some of their agents are balking at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw it. I read half of it. I've got some of that down in my notebook over here, but I've sort of made a self-pledge today to not discuss the business of college athletics. So we're going to put that off till tomorrow if I can help it. I'm just not really in the mood, so that's where we are as we get into the
argument for me. No argument for me.
I read it. It's really interesting. It'll be a great topic tomorrow or Wednesday, but no, not today.
Well, it's one of those things. It's not to get into it at all. We'll move on fast. It's interesting. It's one of the complaints people have. They're like, why do you guys talk about it all the time? And it's, well, I mean, I get that sentiment. I do. You're also sort of asking, if you say don't talk about it, and if it were up to me, I'd probably never talk about it because I'm sick of it. Mm-hmm. But if you never talk about it and you just stick to sports, you're not really covering the sport that you're tasked to cover. Because if you talk to people inside the sport, this is what they're talking about. They're trying to figure out the landscape moving forward. It was literally, I guess it was Sunday, Ryan Day and Marcus Freeman had their media day in Atlanta before the title game, which I guess is tonight. And I mean, a lot of their conversation was about roster building and the transfer portal and those kinds of things. And so when you pretend that they don't exist, it's fine. I mean, a lot of people do it. There are people that do it successfully, but I don't really know that it's, I don't know. It seems somewhat disingenuous to attack it that way.
It's become Ross Dellinger's beat for the most part at this point.
Yeah, I mean, unless you just come out and say, "Look, this is what I do, and I'm not going to talk about this. I'm only going to talk about this," and then you stick to it. At which point, okay, I don't know that I'm wired that way. Like, so it's a complicated thing. There are probably some people that are more wired that way than I am. I'm not really.
Seeking there from the chat, yes, Paul Gallo did pass away, longtime Super Talk Mississippi host. I saw Super Talk put that out this morning. So all thoughts with Gallo's family and friends. Richard has done a pretty impeccable job taking over that show here in recent months. So yes, I did see that. Neil and I had a brief discussion about it right before we started the show this morning. So
I didn't know him at all, but I wish nothing but my condolences to the people that loved him, his family, and all of his many listeners. He obviously had an incredibly successful career.
Mississippi State, Ole Miss, 84-81. State in overtime over the Rebels, and a lot here, really in this thing from a minutia standpoint. Don't want to go terribly into that level of detail. Neil wrote a good bit about it in 10 Thoughts. Had a lot of stuff on the message board. As well here since that game on Saturday. And I mean, look, I mean, it's depending on what you want to take from it, how Pollyanna you want to be, where you're setting your expectations is more where it is. I thought you wrote this, and I thought this was the best part of it as far as where this thing stands, because if you were just talking about a team to make the NCAA tournament, you just simply move on with your day and go, oh, cool, it's fine. You wanted, 0-2 was even okay for the week. You went 1-1. You got the win in Tuscaloosa. From a net standpoint that takes how you played and final score into account, that overtime loss in Starkville only helps you. Ole Miss moved from 16-13 in the net after losing to Mississippi State. Now, remember, that is a ranking, not a number. Marquette lost, other teams lost, and took worse falls than other teams, which is part of why you moved up. But nonetheless, 16-13 in the net there on Saturday. So all those things look swimmingly. I mean, we'll go through the KenPom. We'll look at net here as the show goes on today. So if you're just talking about making the tournament and getting the numbers, all good, well done, move on, great job, Rebs. Chris Beard, as you mentioned, that is not where his mindset is. That is not, if you're trying to go, nope, what's it going to take for this team to win 12 conference games? What's it going to take for this team to go to the second weekend of the tournament? All of those type of things, they have several issues that came out and were their Achilles that caused the loss on Saturday in Starkville. They were down 14-2, another slow start. I think that's the fourth in 5 games, if you want to go back, depending on how you want to rate that. Over the course of early league play, they got annihilated on the boards. 51-29, Mississippi State over Ole Miss. 51-29. Mississippi State had 19 offensive rebounds in this basketball game. Ole Miss only had 8, including in the overtime period, where Ole Miss got off to a really good start in overtime and then allowed 2 putbacks on just kind of lazy feet, looking around for some rebounds there late. The fact that Ole Miss was in a basketball game where they were down 14-2 on the road to a ranked opponent and got out-rebounded by 22 is one hell of a credit to their toughness and one hell of a credit to their coach. So it's really all about what you want to take from this thing, Neil.
Yeah, you summed it up pretty well. I wrote about this in 10 Thoughts. If the goal is simply make the tournament, they had a great week. Great week. You moved a lot closer to making the tournament. That's not the way Chris Beard talks. He always says 6 games in 3 weekends. That's a clear reference to making the national championship game. That's what he's referencing every single time. He's done it once at Texas Tech. He got to Monday night, lost in overtime to Virginia in the national final. He knows what it takes to get there. And he opened his press conference after the game on Saturday talking about the start of the game, because that's where the game was lost. They dug a hole, 14-point hole. They gave up the first 11 points. They trailed by 14. You expend a lot of mental energy coming back from a 14-point deficit in a place like Starkville against a team like that. And that's a good team. I know we've had debates on rebelgrove.com about how good that team is or isn't, or all of those things. I know what my eyes see. I watch a lot of basketball, and I think Mississippi State's a really good team. You can feel free to disagree. It's cool with me. I'm fine. I think Chris Jans is a really good coach. They've got talented players. They're physical. They can shoot it. They're really good. So you dig that kind of a hole against them, and you spend a lot of energy fighting out of that hole. They cut it to 8 at the half. Felt like a win at the time. I wrote that on the message board that in the game thread that if you were Ole Miss, given how badly the first 12-ish minutes of that game went, you had to be thrilled to be only down 8. But you're still down 8. And you spend the second half cutting it and cutting it. And they got to 1 3 times maybe? Maybe just 2 times. Maybe 3 times. I don't know. Got to 1. Mississippi State would push it back to about 4. Got to 2. They'd push it to 4. You were clawing. And to their credit, they fought. I mean, I thought they played an exceptional second half. Morrell hits the 3 with about 4 seconds left to tie the game. Riley Kugel takes a shot from the top of the key that when he let it go, I thought, uh-oh, that's in. Mm-hmm. But it did rimmed out, so you go to OT. And in OT, I thought that Ole Miss looked a little tired, maybe mentally. Just a little tired mentally. Had a couple of plays where you need to put a body on someone. You need to be a little more physical. You don't want to ever leave the game in the hands of the officials. I thought the officials did a good job. I thought the game was pretty well officiated. I know other people disagree. It's just my opinion. That's all it is one person's opinion, no agenda. I thought they did a pretty good job officiating the game. You could have probably called Melendez for a push-off on the offensive rebound, but Morrell didn't put his body on him, and he made it where that official was going to have to make a judgment call. And in those moments, most officials are not going to blow the whistle. And so he didn't. And then there was Ole Miss was up 1. The play that really sticks out in my mind, I think it was 77-76. There was a loose ball around midcourt. I know that Padula was involved with the loose ball. It feels like, if I'm recalling this correctly, he got it out towards Ole Miss's end. Matthew Morrell took it to the rim and laid it up. I don't know whether Matt laid it up because he didn't realize there was a trailer so close. Melendez was trailing. I don't know whether he laid it up because he just doesn't have the juice in his legs to get up and dunk. Whatever the case may be, that was a spot where, if possible, you want to dunk the ball. Because if you dunk it, you're either going to get an and one or you're going to get fouled dunking the ball and you're going to get free throws. Instead, he tried to lay it up. Melendez blocked it. It led to an open court, kind of a hectic transition. Kugel hit the 3, and State never trailed again. I kind of thought that's where the game was decided a little bit. And you can't help but wonder, and it's just speculation, you're just guessing, if all of that emotional energy that is spent getting out of a deficit drains you just a little bit. I mean, State led almost 41 minutes of the game. Ole Miss led for about a minute and a half. There's a difference in energy expended leading, trailing. And I just kind of thought you saw that a little bit. And so I think that's what Chris was referencing after the game. He referenced physicality. He referenced some shot selection late. He referenced some late game awareness, because I think for him, obviously he wants to win the game, he wants to win every game, but he knows that is the kind of game, because I was thinking this, kind of kept it to myself. I didn't really post it anywhere until yesterday. Watching that game, it felt like a Saturday night in the NCAA tournament. It felt like a second round heavyweight fight, maybe even a Sweet 16 heavyweight fight. That felt like a 4-5 game, a 3-6 game. These are two teams that are really good. These are two teams that are capable. These are two teams that are just throwing haymakers. And in those games, you can't make mental mistakes. And I thought, in fairness, Ole Miss made more mental mistakes than Mississippi State did. And then when State made a couple, like 20 seconds left in overtime, Padula dribbles the ball off his foot. State gets the ball. They're up 3. I mean, you got to think your State, hey, just get the ball in. We're going to get fouled. We're going to go to the line. We're going to have a 2-possession lead with 18 seconds left. Instead, they threw it away, had a turnover. And Padula got it and took really, I thought, an ill-advised 3 with about 12 seconds left. So
strangest shot because he acted like there was a second and a half left. The way the entire mannerisms of that possession at that point.
Yeah, so you get into the mental stuff, right? You get into the mental stuff right there. Maybe you're just a little fried from spending so much energy chasing. And then the other thing that happens when you build that deficit, and this is something that I think is more of an X and O thing. Malik Dia did not have a very good first half. Didn't play much. Chris Jans was determined to get the ball out of his hands. They doubled him when he got it. Dia did not handle that well. Credit to Jans. They were not going to let Malik Dia have another Alabama game. But it forced, when you trail like that and you just have to have offense, he probably had to play Jalen Murray more than he wanted to, and that allowed Mississippi State to do what we saw a lot of last season in SEC play, which was, hey, we've got big guards. We're going to hunt him. We're going to create the mismatch, take advantage of it, get easy looks at the basket, force you to double, which leaves an open man. It was a lot of that, right? You couldn't – and Chris acknowledged it. He said, you have to make some decisions there, and I needed the offense because he wasn't getting it from Dia. And so, look, everybody in this league's good. Everybody has players, literally everyone. South Carolina's probably the worst team in the league, and they have a lottery pick. All of the coaches are pretty good, with maybe one exception, who's the game may have passed him by. But all of the coaches are good. They all have scouting staffs. Everybody is studying. The league's going to know each other. And look, Ole Miss made waves early. Ole Miss is good. And so people saw the Dia thing. And Chris Jans and his staff, they're paid to win games and to prepare. And they were not going to let Malik Dia do a lot of what Malik Dia likes to do. And so now it's you mentioned baseball earlier. This is the hitter who came in, tore up the league at first. He gets scouted. You find the hole in his swing, and you hammer it. You hammer it, and you hammer it until the hitter adjusts. And then when he adjusts, you adjust to his adjustment. And that's where we'll start getting an SEC play. All of these teams are going to scout you. You're scouting them. Buzz Williams and Chris Beard will have a very difficult time tricking one another on Wednesday night. They're both terrific coaches. They're both going to be incredibly well prepared for Wednesday night's game. And it will come down to execution. And that's kind of what it came down to on Saturday night, just in an incredibly close game that, as wild as it was, I mean, I kept thinking this, if Brakefield makes that 3 at the end of the overtime to send this thing into a double overtime, you would look at statistically and go, there's just no way that happened. And yet Ole Miss did. I think there's a lot of positive you can take from that. But you can't keep getting beat on the glass by 22 or 23 or whatever it was. You can't get beat on the offensive glass by 11 night in, night out and expect good results. It's that was worst nightmare for them, and that I suspect there will be a couple of practices this week that are about toughness and things of that nature. You can't give up that many second chance opportunities and expect to win too many games.
You mentioned that play with Morrell. Yeah, you were correct there. It was 77-76, and it was 2:19 to go in the overtime period at that point when Ole Miss took the lead. So prior to that hectic period of time, so around 2 minutes left there when that happened, 77-76. At the moment for that, yeah, I mean, look, it's just to finish the topic, it looked exactly like a team that had run out of gas because they had to make a huge comeback. I mean, that's what you saw in every way. It's a pretty normal basketball thing. And even that final possession, it was an awful final possession because it was defended pretty well and they looked slow and tired. And Brakefield just kind of got it and had to throw it up, and they had denied and at that point. And they had played the first 4 SEC opponents to essentially even in rebounding. I think it was like +1 or 2 if you want to take all 4 games together there. But part of why you get beat even beyond that in rebounding is because you're tired from coming back. They play off each other. Yep. It's not even one independently of the other.
You know what's funny is at the end of the first overtime, the only overtime, Ole Miss had an inbounds play, and ironically, probably one of the best defenders in the league, Cam Matthews, got caught sleeping just a little. not sleeping, but you know what I mean. He was kind of looking somewhere else, and Ole Miss inbounded the ball toward Murray in the corner, and he was going to have an open look. Yeah. And Matthews, to his credit, at the very last second, flicked his hand out there and got a finger on it to knock it out of bounds. Otherwise, we're probably going to double overtime. I mean, that was that. But it shows you, like, right, that's even Matthews right there, a little tired mentally. You're late in the game. You've played a lot of intensity. But he, to their credit, he made that play, and then you couldn't make a play. And sometimes it just comes down to minuscule little things when you create such a razor's edge of a opportunity to win. It doesn't take much to go off the edge. And so that's what kind of happened. It was close. You can, like I said, you can look at it a lot of different ways. If you're looking at it with, hey, is this team for real? Was Alabama a fluke? There's your answer. It's for real. No. But if you're looking at it like, hey, if this team wants to make the kind of run that Chris Beard wants to make, does it have to fix some things? Absolutely. Absolutely. The rebounding thing is a real issue. He's talked about it. He's joked about it, stuff like that. But that was, I would venture to guess that when they went back and watched the film, rebounding, especially on the defensive end, got really talked about.
On the Dia thing, to close the topic, in layman's, what is the counter to what State did? I mean, what is the chess match now to keep him active? Because like you said, he went crazy in 2 straight SEC games. He had the 23 and 21 or whatever it was against Alabama there in the midweek. And then State completely takes him off the floor for the majority, even though the turnovers is kind of the reason Beard got pissed at him. But what is the movement there to make him part of the offense but not get hunted to that extent? Because like you said, they're already doing some offense-defense stuff when you pull him because you go incredibly small, and other teams are absolutely going to attack Jalen Murray.
So offensively, you nailed it with the word movement, whether you meant to or not. He's got to move the basketball. You know, when the double team comes, well, let's not make this more complicated than it is, right? When the double team comes, that means someone's open. It's like a hot read in football. You got to find your read. And if you don't find the read, it will make the football analogy. If they bring blitz, that means someone's open on a hot read. Mm-hmm. Now, you have a split second to make that read, and if you don't make it, you're getting sacked. And so this was, in basketball parlance, he had a double team come. State's big, they're long, they're physical. When that double team came and he didn't react to it, well, now he's trapped and he's making a bad pass because everyone's programmed to read the pass and you rotate with the pass, and they were creating turnovers. Mm-hmm. Defensively, Chase, he's got to be a bigger body. Defensively, he has to go rebound. He has to put a body on somebody. He has to block out. He can't just be a face-up, 5-out big. He's got to be more than that on this team. They don't have your traditional big that allows him to go do that. He's got to be on defense. He's got to be his size. Offensively, he's just got to move the basketball.
Yeah, I mean he only gave them 2 rebounds in 18 minutes on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, I think the word that Chris used about the start of the game was unacceptable, and I would expect that applied to Dia. There was an unacceptable first half. If they want to be a second weekend team, you got to have more than that. Bottom line, I mean, and that's okay. Hey, look, my good friend Andy Kennedy always says men are visual learners, and I think he's right. You know, I mean, men, sometimes guys have to see something to understand it and learn from it. And there will be a lot on that film to learn from. I mean, there's no denying what happened. And so you look at it and it's going to come, A&M's going to see it and go, okay, well, that's how you get the ball out of his hands. That's how you get him off the court. And they're going to try to do some of the same stuff. And so you have to adjust.
Worth mentioning quickly before we look at a little more resume standpoint, Jamin Breakville with another really good, smart, consistent game. He goes for 20 and 7 on Saturday, 3 for 5 from three, 7 of 12 from the field. He hit 75% of his free throws, even though Ole Miss only went 57% as a team, going 8 of 14. 3 fouls, no turnovers. Just quick mention there. Breakville, another really good game. He's been a very steadying presence for this team during league play.
Jamin came back because he wants to go to the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Jamin came back because of legacy. It wasn't just money. He really cares. And you see it on the court. He had a bad game against Memphis. I think he took it personally. He's played really well since. I thought he played with a tremendous amount of poise on Saturday. I thought Matt Morrell did too. I thought that was, indicative of some guys who've been there, who care. I thought both of those guys played really poised basketball, especially. I thought Jamin did the whole game, but especially in the second half, I thought those guys were critical to what they were able to achieve. Because again, State's good, okay? State's good. State's a tournament team. That's the one thing that will be interesting about the SEC come tournament time, Chase, will be all of these teams that are going to make it, and I think 11 are going to make it. I think 11 of them are going to be really tested. The question will be, will they be tired? But will they be battle tested? Yeah, you're going to get battle tested in this league. It was like there was in the game thread on Saturday, I thought it was interesting. I sort of participated more in the game thread than I normally do, just because. And early, there was some commentary, and I guess I said something, and someone said, well, it's not over. And I said, I didn't say it was. I'm just pointing out that this isn't going to be a Disney cruise. Adversity's coming. You're going to get your share of it, right? Look around the league yesterday. Or Saturday. Tennessee goes to Vanderbilt, builds a huge deficit, almost comes back and gets it, but can't quite. Vanderbilt gets a huge win. They're fast becoming one of the really fun stories in the league. Auburn without Janai Broome had to expend a lot of energy to hold Georgia off. Auburn did it. They got the win. Georgia's very good. You see it. Asa Newell's just a tremendous – you see why the NBA loves him. Alabama, Kentucky was a great basketball game. I missed the first half. I had to go to the doctor, but the second half of that game felt like a heavyweight fight. It felt like a 1-4 game where the 4 is giving the 1 all at once in a tournament setting. That's what it kind of felt like. And I think the league's going to play out like that. Mississippi State, they get all of about 0 minutes to enjoy Saturday because they got to go to Knoxville now and play a Tennessee team that just lost. Good luck. Florida loses to Missouri, turns around and blows Texas off the court. Texas is good. That's the league, man. It's not going to be a Disney cruise.
Yeah, that's the last thing on stage as we kind of look at the league as a whole, because I don't want to get off topic. But you were talking about a desperate team at home in a rivalry game with a huge crowd and had Tennessee up next. You had as much of an intangible disadvantage in that game as possible, and you played that tough and well. I think there's some, for the most part, and I know I'm speaking to a very small crew because for the most part everybody understands and is moving on and whatever, but if you're getting into the emotional side of, hey, they just lost a game to State, oh my God, you have to really take into account what that basketball game was on Saturday as you do that. That was a must-win early for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, and if you want to dig a little deeper on Ole Miss, look, if Sean Padula makes the back end of two, he made the first, missed the second. If Mikal Brown-Jones makes the front end and subsequently the back end of a 1-and-1, you probably win the game. But you miss free throws late. You just didn't quite get it done. Bottom line, even there were some opportunities that weren't, that were in your control to take a 3-point lead in the last couple minutes of the overtime, and you just couldn't do it, right? So you learn from it and you move on. It won't be the last time they're tested. It won't be the last game that's going to come down to the wire. I suspect there'll be plenty of those. They have a very difficult week ahead of them. Wade Taylor IV is back for Texas A&M. They have to go to Missouri. Missouri has been very good at home. They blew Arkansas off the court on Saturday in Columbia. They'll be ready for Ole Miss. It's a big opportunity for them. Their net as of yesterday was 24. They'll look at Ole Miss as an opportunity at a quad one win. So it doesn't get any easier. You have to learn from these things and move forward. And Chris Beard is. I said this in 10 Thoughts. When Ole Miss hired him, I thought they'd hired a top 10 coach. Mm-hmm. After watching, there aren't 5 coaches in college basketball better than him. There's no chance. Might be 5 that are just as good. Fine, I'll play along with that. Sure. 5 better than him? No way. Dude's, it's amazing what he's done.
An average coach, and they lose by 18 on Saturday in Starkville.
Yeah,
you get run off the floor, you don't recover, and you just sort of limp all the way through and go, hell, whatever. Yeah,
no, absolutely. It's what he's done with this program in a year and a half is stunning. That's the word I would use. It's stunning. It is. And I mean, they don't have Asa Newell out there. They don't have a guaranteed bucket kind of on the floor, and they just go do it. There's no, like the other day in Lexington, I kept thinking back to Tuesday night, like Mark Sears and LeBaron Philon and Grant Nelson. Mm-hmm. They were just buckets from Bama. Ole Miss silenced those guys. I mean,
Philon had 1 point.
Yeah. He had some big shots against Kentucky in the second half. Nelson had a huge first half. I mean, Bama's good. I mean, the overreaction to that, it's going to be. It's what we do. Like fans, media. This is an 18-round fight, and you're going to lose some rounds.
Looking at that, you mentioned the league. Just from a KenPom projection standpoint, because they project the rest of the season based off the numbers to date. 9 SEC teams comfortably in the NCAA tournament, really not even a thought there. And then you have, looking at projected records, sorry, I had it up a real second ago. They have Georgia going 8-10. I think that would get them in. And then currently they have Vanderbilt and Texas projected at 7-11. Everybody else ahead of them, they have at least 10-8. They don't have a 9-9 team right now. So just look at projected records. They have Auburn winning the league at 15-3. Currently, Auburn is currently 5-0, so that would be 10-3 the rest of the way. They have Alabama projected to finish second at 12-6, in a group of 12-6, along with Florida at 12-6, Tennessee at 12-6. They have Ole Miss finishing at 11-7, which would be the 5 seed in the SEC tournament at that point. Just missing the double bye, but you'd be in one hellaciously good shape for anything beyond that. And then they have Missouri at 10-8. They have A&M at 10-8. They have Kentucky at 10-8, and they have Mississippi State at 10-8 in the league currently. So that is where it is.
I can't argue with that.
So teams that are just not even in the realm right now, we're only talking about 4. We're talking about Oklahoma projected at 6-12, LSU at 5-13, Arkansas at 5-13, and South Carolina at 3-15. 4-14 now to finish the league.
Yeah, so. Yeah, I buy that. I mean, you can make an argument for Oklahoma and Texas. Their nets are still really good. They're in the 40s. Texas is 40. I think Texas would probably make the tournament today. Vanderbilt would make the tournament today, and the others, as you said, are comfortably in the tournament.
Kentucky has played good games and really, really fun games. But talk about a schizophrenic offense to defense. I'm just kind of looking at the ratings here, and this bears out by the fact they've had multiple SEC games basically go at 100 points both ways at this point. They are the number 2 offense in the country and the number 84th defensively. That's the second worst defense in the SEC.
I'm shocked they're 84th. I mean, I don't know how they're not 184th. They don't guard anybody. I mean, they don't guard anybody. Now, they can shoot it, and they got dudes who can go score, but they don't guard anybody. I mean, nobody. It's unreal. That is They're very dependent on being hot. And they'll be hot enough. I mean, they'll win games because they have dudes who can shoot it now. But on nights when they don't light it up offensively, they're in trouble in this league because they can't guard. I mean, Chase, they can't guard anybody. I'm not sure they could guard you and me for 20 seconds.
And it's why Oklahoma is just screwed in this league is that analytically, defensively, they're the same as Kentucky. They're completely as bad, and they don't have an elite offense. They're like 35th in offense, which just isn't good enough to offset what you've got going on the other end. And you end up giving up shots and points, and you just can't make it work at that point. Auburn, the number one offense in the country right now. They are number 18th defensively. Ole Miss sitting at 27th offensively and 13th defensively. And again, these are adjusted efficiency based off opponents at this point to try to make it fair across the country. So that's where that is sitting. Tennessee, the top defense in the SEC at number 3. A&M number 11, by the way. They are 39th offensively and 11th defensively. So
yeah, I expect
on Wednesday night.
I don't know what the over-under is on Wednesday. It probably hasn't been set yet. I like the under.
No.
I think Wednesday is going to be a boulder fight. Not a rock.
Yeah, Ole Miss has 2 home games where you're just trying to get to 50, I feel like, and that's Tennessee and Texas A&M over the course of the next couple months.
I mean, that might be a tad hyperbolic, but not much. I mean,
if I offered both those teams 60 points right now, I think they would take it and take their chances.
I think so too. I mean, people that like old school basketball, you might get your dose of it Wednesday night. Those are 2 teams that are going to lock in and defend. It's where the rebound thing is big, man. In games like that, you can't give up second chance, third chance opportunities. Ole Miss gave up some third chance opportunities Saturday. That can't happen.
You mentioned some of this, but just looking at it quickly, Auburn 70-68 over Georgia. That was in Athens, so another win for the Tigers on the road. Again, they are 5-0 in the SEC, 17-1 overall, and now Georgia 2-3 in the SEC. But they've played well, no harm in anything they've done to date for the Bulldogs. Alabama does go on the road and get that win, fighting off the Ole Miss loss in the midweek, 102-97 at Rupp Arena. 47-45 and then 55-52 in the second half. Just points everywhere right there between the Tide. Grant Nelson goes for 25 and 11 for Alabama in that game. You mentioned Texas. They were on the road in Gainesville, got popped 84-60 in Gainesville on Saturday. Florida now 3-2. Texas 1-4 in the
Florida
SEC.
played
their only win.
Sorry, what? Florida played angry.
They did.
Yeah.
Texas's only win is the road win at Oklahoma right now. They're 1-4. Had a tough schedule. Vanderbilt, as you said, holds on 76-75. They were up 6 at the break. Had a big lead for most of the game, and then Tennessee did close. Tennessee 3-2, 16-2 overall. Texas A&M 68-57 at home over LSU. Kind of nondescript game there. A&M will come to Oxford 14-4, 3-2 in the SEC. LSU 12-6, 1-4. Oklahoma beat a South Carolina team that is starting to fade and give it up. It feels like they are getting worse by the game. They really only showed the emotional energy against Auburn. Otherwise, they have not played well at all. In league play, 82-62, the Sooners over the Gamecocks in Norman. That was Oklahoma's first conference win. They are 14-4, 1-4. And then Missouri, 83-65 over Arkansas. The Cal-led Razorbacks now 0-5 in the SEC. Missouri 4-1 right now. Missouri off to a good start.
Mizzou had a great week. Go to Florida and win. Come back, blow out Arkansas. They're in good shape. That will be a very difficult game on Saturday. It's why Wednesday night's big for Ole Miss. You got to get a dub. If you get a dub, you're 5-1.
5-2 at the end of the week's not going to kill you. You're all good.
No, you'll be fine. Yeah. And Ole Miss can beat Missouri. They'll have to play really well.
Tuesday's games, you have Vanderbilt at Coleman Coliseum in Tuscaloosa. That game is at 6 o'clock on the SEC Network. You've got ESPN2 at 6 o'clock, Mississippi State at Tennessee, as we just mentioned. And then Missouri is at Texas. So chance to go there into Austin, Missouri for on the road, 8 o'clock SEC Network in that one. And then Wednesday night's games, got 3 of those, Texas A&M at Ole Miss, 8 o'clock ESPN2. as we mentioned, Florida at South Carolina and Georgia at Arkansas. So both two road opportunities for better teams there in those two games. So
Yeah,
Florida and Georgia both going on the road against the two worst teams in the league.
If you like college basketball, I mean, you're going to get matchups pretty much every single night that the league plays that are going to be fun to watch. None of those sound terrible games. I mean, even Georgia at Arkansas is interesting. Arkansas should be desperate. They're capable of beating Georgia at home, and that's a game Mike and them probably need.
Do you grade Cal at all in year one with what he inherited and where he is?
I mean, you can't help but grade some. I mean, they have talent.
It doesn't look right even in a rebuild. It just doesn't. And there is no rebuild in college basketball. You just put teams together.
I don't know if you listened to what Jeff Goodman said. I put the clip on in 10 Thoughts above my kind of SEC thoughts. Look, that team has 2 first-round picks. Okay, 2 guys that, according to every mock draft, are going in the first round. It's got Janelle Davis, who helped Florida Atlantic to the Final Four. I don't know what they're doing with him. Like, I didn't get a chance to really watch their game against Mizzou because Ole Miss was playing, and the Ole Miss game went long, and I was writing, and I was trying to get content out. But when you watch some of their offense, it's like he doesn't exist. And he was a guy that I think they were counting on him giving you 18 to 20 a night. I don't think he knows where to go get shots. The big kid from Kentucky starts with a Z. I can't think of him. When he plays pretty well, but he doesn't play that much. I don't know why he doesn't play more than he does. Look, I mean, I'm not the first person, and I won't be the last to wonder if just simply sometimes the game passes people by. If maybe the game passed Calipari by. He was once a great coach. The people that do that always sucked, whatever. Stop. Shut up. That's not true. I mean, look what he did at UMass and Memphis and Kentucky. I mean, stop with the he was always a bad coach crap. That's bullshit. But he looks lost right now. They don't look like a team that they look lost. And the weird thing about them is they're pretty talented. I mean, that's not cliche. I mean, they have multiple guys that are going to get NBA looks. And so that's the weird part about them.
Completely off topic, and I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but whatever. It's our podcast. How's Mobile going to handle 5 inches of snow if they get that in the next few days?
No.
Not well, right? Not well.
They're talking about Baton Rouge getting 8 inches to a foot.
They've got
snow.
They've got this morning 8 to 10 for Baton Rouge and Lafayette.
No. Can you imagine?
No. I mean, no.
But no, Mobile with 5 inches of snow, no, shut down. Complete chaos.
Yeah, you think we're bad. Nothing compared to what Mobile will be like.
I mean, no. We lived down there for a decade.
Go ahead.
We lived down there for a decade, and I think we saw 1 inch of snow. We got snow on a Christmas. Yeah, when we thought we would be there forever, we got snow on a Christmas day. And I remember telling the girls, go play. And it was wet, nasty snow, but it was go play in it because you might never see it again. Go play in it. And then, of course, we moved here. The very first year, we got 10 inches of snow.
Yeah.
No, it'll be crazy down there, but it'll be some pretty pictures.
Yeah, what I was saying is it ended up not coming to fruition where it mattered, but I will give the city here credit. They were very proactive on roads that it did not matter, but had we had the ice and stuff, we were in much better shape than even a year ago. You were noticing the brine 72 hours out prior to any of the stuff, and they were incredibly proactive for what was coming this time. But it was all snow. There was no ice. It was fine.
That's the difference, right? If you live here, if you're running a government here, you have to at least have some stockpiles because it's going to happen at some point. When you're in Mobile, you can't justify stockpiling anti-snow stuff.
Yeah,
there's
we're
no
going to need
just
400 grand of brine and stick it somewhere and keep it stored. And you're like, no, come on.
no. So they'll have to wait it out. And those people down there do not handle cold well at all. I mean, if it's 50 something, they're complaining about how frigid it is. It was the
A
one
world
thing
full
I've
of
said.
Jeffries down there, just
Yeah,
gone.
I said this many times. It was the one thing about that area that I never got used to was the complete lack of seasons. It just was hot.
Mm-hmm.
So this will be for some of those people there. This will just be miserable.
I'm not making fun of Brett McMurphy really, but I kind of am. He just tweeted breaking : and I was like, oh, we got news. Tampa replaces Dallas to host 2029 college football playoff game. It's like it's in 5 years. Like,
Good God.
who cares?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm just flashed across on it.
I will say I don't know why you would schedule a game for an outdoor venue when you have plenty of multiple indoor venues where you don't have to worry about weather at all.
I mean, just rotate these bad boys between Dallas and New Orleans and Miami and Phoenix and call it a day.
Call it a day.
Pasadena. Oh, I would. Yeah, I mean, I'm with the grind. I'd much rather it be 98 than 32. I mean, I would. I'm heat.
It just depends. I like having both. I mean, if it's 98 degrees and you're not by a pool, it's miserable. That's just my opinion. I'm not a hot weather person unless I get to live on the beach. If I get
was
to live on
showing
the beach,
idiotic toughness. I was showing idiotic toughness yesterday. I ran yesterday afternoon with the wind chill at 12. Got back and like everything was red, all chapped. But,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did the smart thing and gave myself the weekend off to get used to all the medicine. I'm gonna get back to it today.
Let's see. Moving through a couple things. I had one more point. Last thing, we'll move off basketball. Yeah, if Ole Miss just simply wins the games where they're at least a 60% favorite, they go 11-7. KenPom right now has them at least 61% in 7 remaining games this season. So, last thing on Ole Miss as we move on. NFL.
11-7 would be a remarkable accomplishment. 11-7 in the league for a program that has played on night one of the SEC tournament for the last 4 or 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
To not play on Wednesday night, to potentially make it to a double bye on Friday is an incredible accomplishment.
In this league, as good as it is.
Yes, 100%.
There's not an era where it's looked like this.
No, Ole Miss's goal, in my opinion, going into the season was to play on Friday in Nashville. And it might still be. I mean, because if you get to Saturday for the semis, you did something.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, these people hate each other.
You are worried about rest kind of at that point. What?
I'm watching some of the inaugural stuff, and these people hate each other, and it's awesome to watch. Just everybody have to pretend, grit their teeth. I just kind of enjoy it.
Yeah, I get it. Let's see. NFL divisional games. Chiefs knocked off the Texans 23-14. They move on. So it was an annoying game to watch. I have complete Chiefs fatigue. Even me, who has no real emotional connection to this game at all, I got very frustrated with the way officials handle Mahomes. I got really annoyed at his flop, even though it wasn't penalized late in the game. He completely tried to take a flop out of bounds. I tweeted at the time, I think an offensive player doing a noticeable flop should be penalized. If it's noticeable and very egregious, you should penalize it because it's stupid. They use the sidelines as an advantage to try to get a penalty. He's great. He's excellent, but it was kind of annoying there. They will play the Buffalo Bills next weekend. The Bills, in a really well-played, fun game last night, knocks off the Ravens 27-25. Mark Andrews, awesome tight end for the Ravens for years and years and years. He dropped a would-be two-point conversion that would have tied the game inside a minute to go. There into that one, Lamar Jackson leads a good drive. He had a hell of a game, 254, 18-25. Josh Allen Was in control the whole game. Statistically, didn't necessarily do a ton, but the Bills get it done 27-25. They head to Arrowhead. We'll look at the time and the line here in a second. And then in the NFC, Commanders with just a rout of the Detroit Lions on Saturday. They got up early. They were creative. Jaden Daniels was excellent. The Lions' injuries on the defensive side just finally bit them in every way. They just simply did not have enough. They reminded me a couple games this weekend reminded me of different Saints eras, and that was one of them when Breeze was still really good, but they had no defense, and you're just scrambling the whole time. I was pulling for Detroit, and that's sort of what I felt like I was watching that entire game. Another disappointment there for the Lions and their pursuit of a Super Bowl, but hell of a story for Washington, hell of a story for Jaden Daniels here in his rookie season, the guaranteed Rookie of the Year in the NFL. He's now won 2 playoff games, and they will meet the Philadelphia Eagles that won a Snow Bowl type game over the LA Rams yesterday, 28-22. And if you're a Rams fan, a pretty tough one. I was talking to my brother when he was, I guess, driving home wherever he watched the game at, and he was struggling with it the way that I have struggled with many Saints games because the Rams made a ton of unforced errors. There were 5 fumbles in the game, and the Eagles recovered all 5, which in the snow is just luck because you're falling and the ball's kicking and doing all that kind of stuff. They allowed 3 really long runs. They wasted a great game from Stafford. I mean, Stafford throws for 324 and 2 in the snow yesterday. He was very, very, very good, but Saquon Barkley, 26 carries, 205 yards, a couple touchdowns in it for the Eagles, who win 28-22 and now will host the Commanders in the NFC Championship game. In that one, those coming up Sunday, both games on Sunday. Commanders and Eagles kicks you off 2 o'clock on Fox. That is a Eagles minus 5.5 line. The total on that game 47.5. And then your nightcap, the Bills and the Chiefs, to see if Josh Allen can finally break through there against Kansas City and Mahomes. First time since 21 for those two teams to meet in the AFC Championship game. And Kansas City is a 1.5-point home favorite. The over-under 48.5 in that game. So Commanders, Eagles, 2 o'clock. Bills, Chiefs, 5:30. First game on Fox, second game on CBS and Paramount Plus. So that is your NFL breakdown for the day. We'll look at some of that stuff as the week goes on. I'm sure we'll have Neil's picks. And then what time is the national championship game tonight, Neil?
I'm looking at it.
6:30. Congratulations. Wow, that's good.
Yeah, 6:30 on. Now that's what time they say. Does that mean
I don't know
that's
if
what
that
time
means kick is at 7:48. I have no idea. Yeah. I'm actually looking for that now. Yeah, CFP Championship kickoff time. Yeah, everything says 6:30, but I will be a little surprised if the ball is in the air at 6:30. I don't believe them.
I'll give the NFL credit yesterday to play it earlier on Sunday was smart.
Oh yeah,
I just didn't
for sure.
So Saturday, I didn't even start the Chiefs game because I knew the Ole Miss game was coming on and I wasn't going to be able to. There's no point getting into the game if you know you can't watch the end of it. So I didn't. And then the Ole Miss game went so long and I was writing and stuff that I didn't watch. I didn't see much NFL at all over the weekend.
It must be fairly at that time because college game day is beginning at 4 o'clock today. So around 6:30. Must be the kickoff time in that one. So 6:30 ESPN, Ohio State and Notre Dame. Ohio State 13-2, Notre Dame 14-1, and Ohio State favored by 8.5 tonight in this one. The matchup predictor on ESPN says they're giving Ohio State a 55.3% chance of winning this game. That feels a little low. Notre Dame's going to have to play a hell of a football game to win tonight. It seems predetermined the way Ohio State has played to date. But I think I will be pulling for Notre Dame if I just have to watch it and think where my allegiances go.
I was going to say 1 to 10, 1 to 10, with 1 being I'm not watching and 10 being you couldn't drag me away from the set. Where are you on tonight's game?
At kickoff, 5.5, maybe 5.5. I'm easy to leave it and then if it's close in the fourth quarter, I don't think you can create a situation that has me above about a 7 no matter what you do.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm
even
about
in a great game late, I think I'm like a 7 because look, I don't like Ohio State. They get on my nerves. Not a big no. I'm definitely not vaping. I'm holding a pen, a remarkable pen. I Notre Dame is sort of fascinating to me from the more large scale college football conversation right now. And if you're an SEC team or a Big Ten team, you probably are anti Notre Dame because the way this thing is set up for them moving forward, you let them win a title or even what they've done right now to get not just in the conversation, but to be a really reputable team that can go win a title and not just sort of that team they've been over the last 20 years of, yeah, we're letting you in and you get your ass kicked and it kind of is what it is. Not only are they an independent that is getting special treatment as far as a seat at the table, but Neil, you can argue that they are the most powerful individual team in the country because they basically get a vote that is even to every conference's one vote. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
when they get allowed at the table, like not only is Swarbrick or whatever their AD's name, it's not him anymore, it's the other guy whose name is escaping me. Whatever their situation is, they're not just like one of 12 and you kind of do whatever. They're one of one and they are sitting there and get one argument too and trying to get this thing done. So I don't know. I think that's something to kind of watch as we go forward and see where they change things. You saw the ACC came out yesterday with some reports saying they are contemplating switching their ACC championship game to the one seed not even playing, and their ACC championship game being the 2 versus the 3 seed to try to give their 2 or 3 a better win, and then their 1 seed not take the loss to get
So you
into
call that
the championship. Do what?
So you call that you say you're going to call that the championship game, even though the team that won the championship in the regular season doesn't play for it, and that's so stupid.
Yeah, they're
I mean,
trying to
just
rig 2 teams in because they're trying to guarantee their one gets in because they would get in as the conference champion, and then it would give the 2 or 3 seed a quality win per se to try to fight for an at-large spot. So yes, they are completely rigging their conference to try to guarantee 2 spots in the CFP. Complete jump the shark situation.
yeah. I mean, look, when we get to that place, please stop everybody telling me how healthy the game is. That's all I'm gonna say. That's when you're outwardly doing silly stuff. Don't tell me that you're doing it because it's stupid.
Well, it's like
That's just
there's that thing going around. Somebody on the message board, and I may not have the particulars exactly right, but Joel Klatt has been peddling this that there is an argument that SEC and Big Ten each get 4 automatic bids. It guarantees 2 automatic bids for the conferences, whatever. I'm not saying this is going to happen. But the way that they were saying the SEC could consider to do it in that world was still play the SEC championship game, but the 1 and the 2 are guaranteed spots of those 4, and then have another set of games on the same day where you basically do an SEC triple header. The 3 plays the 6 and the 4 plays the 5, and the winner of those 2 games get into the field as well for their 4 automatic bids.
you're just adding opportunities for people to get hurt.
Yep. Adding money.
I get it. I do. It's fine. Whatever. Common sense guy is not getting his time at the table right now.
A lot of scrambling going on right now.
I mean, that's not even that's not commonsensical. Figure out how big you
want. Go ahead.
Figure out how big you want your tournament to be, and then take the best teams, 14, 12, 16, whatever, and take those teams. It's not complicated.
No, it's not. And figure out some analytical metric.
And the odds are overwhelming that if you do that, I think it's 16. But if it's 14, whatever. If it's 12, whatever. The odds are overwhelming. The Big 12 champ is going to be in that mix. The ACC champ's going to be in that mix. This past year, Boise would have been in the mix. and Notre Dame would have been in the mix. It probably will work itself out, and that will take a lot of the drama away. Just rank them, some sort of power ranking, and go with it, and seed them 1 through 16, and then play the damn thing, or 1 through 14, and figure out buys or whatever you want to do. Fine, but this whole deal.
Go ahead.
I'm almost finished. I'm being repetitive. I don't even care about the ACC. It's not going to win. It doesn't matter. But if you're calling a game a conference championship game, and the team from the regular season that was the best team in the regular season doesn't play for that title, it's not a championship game. If you want to call it the ACC exhibition game, great, cool. But don't call it the championship game where the winner gets a championship trophy and the team that finished first didn't get a chance to play for said trophy. That's stupid.
Yeah, the 3 seed raises the conference championship banner, and the 1 seed goes, well, we got the regular. It's convoluted.
That's stupid. That's dumb. That's just dumb.
In that world of the SEC wildcard weekend thing, I think that's what Grind called it, sure, as well as anything else. Yeah, it would have been Tennessee versus South Carolina, winner is in, and it would have been Ole Miss, Alabama, winner is in. Texas and Georgia already in.
I mean, would people watch it? Yes. They'd watch it. Of course, if you'd gone to 16 teams, all of those teams, they would have been in anyway, and those teams would have been punished for the bad losses that we've talked about ad nauseum, and they would have had an opportunity to make amends for them. Washington had to go to Detroit, right? Why? Because Detroit had a better regular season. Mm-hmm. Washington had to go on the road and go win, and they did. But they had to go on the road to do it. The Rams had to go on the road yesterday. The Rams paid for not having as good of a season as Philadelphia by having to fight the weather and the snow and all that stuff. It's just, it makes sense.
Yeah, the Rams playing in L.A. probably win the football game yesterday, but you know what? They had a worse record, and they had to go play in whatever damn conditions came out of that game yesterday. And
yep, and there it was. Such is life. And so, Buffalo's got to go to Kansas City this week. So if you want to get to, like Josh Allen, I think said this last night, or I read it this morning, I can't remember where, but, if you want to get over them, you got to get through them. And there they are, and Washington's got to go to Philadelphia. Washington would probably prefer if you gave them the choice. Hey, where would you like this game? We would like it at home, please.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work like that because Philadelphia won the division. And so Washington's got to go through Philadelphia to get to the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why why is it so hard? It's what drives me nuts about it is when some of the people in the sport go, well, we're pro football now. Okay, well then follow their model. They've got one that works. No one ever goes, hey, the NFL playoffs are screwed up. I don't ever hear that.
Yeah.
They have 14 teams that make it. They have a bye at the top, and then you have a playoff setting. Do it. Figure it out. It's not hard. College football has too many people that they're so concerned about feelings and about equity and participation and stupid stuff instead of just going, let's just put the best teams on the field.
Mm-hmm. On that note, we will close there. We'll say quick, congratulations, Ole Miss cheerleading. They won the national championship yesterday, knocking off Alabama and Oklahoma in the finals. The all-girls traditional. It's their second title of some sort in 3 seasons. The game day won 2 years ago, which was Rebelettes plus cheer together. Neil's got a pretty good idea of how hard those girls work and cheer and dance and things over the course of years, even to make the teams and get into positions to win as a team standpoint. So congrats to them for that yesterday.
The hours that are put in would boggle the mind.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's an incredible accomplishment. And that's an incredibly competitive contest. There are programs that are exceptional. I've been exposed to this because of Caroline. The amount of work that it takes to get where they got. The amount of competition that they competed against it's mind-boggling, really. Congratulations to them. It's an incredible accomplishment.
Yeah, the way that program has improved at Ole Miss over the last 10 years is fairly remarkable as they've become one of the top most competitive ones in the country. So anyway, they pulled that off in Orlando yesterday. We will talk about college football playoff championship game tomorrow. We will get into some of that business stuff tomorrow as well. I hope you have a guest. We got some stuff going on, so we'll be back tomorrow with another edition. RebelGrove.com. In the meantime, take care, stay safe. Happy Inauguration Day, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.